What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Recently, a birdie fan member asks me if I were to start over, how would I go about it? How would I go about building my bag and my collection? Well, the answer is easy. I'd quit and switch to golf. And then I wouldn't get very far. So I'd be right back to disc golf. And I'd be here telling you how to get your collection started for $100 or less. Before we dive in, we're gonna ask the most important question of the day. How you doing today, Gilbert and Gabe? You having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
So for those of you who are fairly new to the sport, or you got sent this video because there's someone in your life getting into disc golf or interested in disc golf and you thought, hey, this would be a really fun hobby for them to get into. Get them outdoors, get them walking around, burning them calories, whatever your purpose or motivation is. I want to give a few ideas of things that I would try or look at if I was trying to start the collection or move the collection. So let's start first with the one-stop shop method. All of these things I'm going to suggest can actually be found over at foundationdisc.com. And I know this sounds like a silly push, but one of the best parts about this is that at foundationdisc.com they have foundation care attached to every single order, which means you get a trial period, no questions asked. As long as you're not grabbing the disc and like trying to go out there and puncture holes in it, Foundation will let you return the disc for free and then swap it out for another disc. Gives you a great opportunity to try out a disc, see if you like it, see if it fits your game, and then move on to another one. That is included on all purchases, not just for the sake of this video. Now, the one-stop shop method is all about, hey, what do we do to go to a certain spot and just sort of buy all the discs that we need in one swoop? And for that, I'm gonna shout out my boy Jesse over in Denver, Colorado, who runs a company called Trash Panda Disc Golf, which is all about building the sport sustainably and creating discs out of 100% fully recycled plastic. Now, I remember chatting with Jesse when he was building Trash Panda straight out of his garage, and he started with a putter because a putter is the basis of sort of the entire game. He wanted to have a neutral to straight putter, and he built from there. And he built 3 discs, which are traditionally found in a starter pack. You have a putter, mid-range, fairway driver, which is exactly what he created. We have the inner core, which is their putter. We have the dune, which is their mid-range, and we have the ozone, which is their fairway driver. You can pick up these 3 discs in a starter pack. They actually released them recently where they're like sold together instead of having to buy them individually. In fact, I'm pretty sure that this is all $50 or less. So for 3 premium plastic discs, which is gonna make them more durable, it's a great start. And if you're a newer player, especially when getting started, these are all fantastic options as well. Now, the second method is a little more fun, and I know, like for my wife, for instance, early on in the channel, we did a video where I put her on a shopping spree, and in that shopping spree, I was like, hey, you have this budget, go out, buy whatever discs you wanted. And she preferred the mix and match method. I want to take a quick moment to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Now, many of you know Manscaped for the Lawnmower 5.0, but I want to talk about 2 products that Manscaped has that I think actually need more attention because they bring comfort to an entirely different level. First, let's talk about the boxers. Manscaped has their own line of boxers, and I know I personally am always looking for something that has that athletic feel without being too thin so that things just go a little too breezy and easy. What I love about the boxers is that I can go all day and not feel like I have to change, because normally if I'm wearing a more cotton-based material, there's going to be sweating and chafing, and you know, when you play in a 2-round seat here, the last thing you want to be worrying about is some chafing. Thanks to Manscaped boxers, that has been a thing of the past, and I look forward to, honestly, not only wearing them on tournament days, but just around the house in general. And then second, let's talk about the Beard Hedger Pro. I am not a professional barber, and I don't advertise being one. But what I do advertise is how easy it is to use this trimmer in order to find and create that sleek look. Some of the best features on it are that it's wireless, it's rechargeable, and I can use it in the shower, because if your wife or your significant other is like me, you know that they do not love having those trimmings all over the counter. And even though I feel like I'm being so careful, I got the towel set out, it can just be a nightmare. And it's just something I want to avoid having a discussion about in the future. So I can take it to the shower, do a little trim up and see what we're doing, get things dialed in, and next thing you know, the beard's looking better than ever, and we're having happy life. So if you're looking to bring a little Manscaped joy into your life beyond just the Lawnmower 5.0, make sure you head over to manscaped.com and use code RobbieC to receive not only 20% off, but free shipping as well. Thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring and believing what we're doing here on the channel, as well as supporting over 12 million men worldwide. And the mix and match method is all about going out there, and let's say you walk out with a specific mold in mind, which a mold is the shape of the disc. It makes it fly differently when thrown the same way. You can see even here we have 2 mid-ranges that are marginally different. One has a little more dome to it, one has a sharper bottom to it. On top of the mold is gonna be the stamp. And for my wife, personally, the stamp means everything. You've got discs like the inner core where there is no stamp on top. You have other molds where there is a custom stamp on top, and then there's stock stamps that don't necessarily look like this. For instance, this was a foundation release celebrating the signing of one of their pro players, Ezra Robinson, and the SS Buzzra. This is my personal blend of putters and the Birdie Blend putter for the new stamp we did with my Have a Great Day and Make It Fantastic for Someone Else 2 stamp. And then third, the artist side, you can actually dye the discs. Because they're plastic discs, you can dye images into the top or whatever part of the disc that you want, which gives it a more personal feel. This one was done for me by a friend, Brian Moon, and I love owls, and he put it on a Trash Panda dune. Now, for the mix and match method, there are so many options available. So what I want to do is I want to give you 3 molds that I would immediately put in someone's hand that was starting, and then I'll talk about a 4th one in a second with a different twist on it than I think a lot of people are going to take, so that if you trust me on the molds, you can go out there and find the stamp or the color that you're looking for. For the putter, I'm gonna go with one of the most iconic putters in all of disc golf, and I think that not only is it iconic, but based on the current state of things, you can find them pretty cheap. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the Judge. The Judge is released by Dynamic Discs. It is a moderate depth putter, which means that the depth inside of the disc, not too shallow, not too deep. It also has a bead, which is that extra layer of plastic on the bottom, that little nub that looks like there. So you'll know pretty fast whether you want to use this as a putting putter or not. Now, what's great about the Judge is that it is a fantastic putting putter, but it also makes for a great throwing putter. In disc golf, you can use your putters to do both. It's not like golf where you can only use it on the green. You can throw these from the middle of the fairway. For newer players, because they're gonna have sort of a throwing issue that we call nose up, putters actually get pretty good distance out of them as opposed to fairway drivers. Those drivers, just like in golf, gets a little tougher to swing the big stick. The Judge is iconic and a classic, and I would highly recommend it. Next up, I'm gonna recommend a disc that is arguably one of the greatest discs of the modern generation, and that is the Axiom Envy. Now, the Envy is also a putter, and you may be asking, well, Mr. YouTube man, didn't you just already suggest a putter in the Judge? I don't know why all of you are like from like the New York, Boston area, but yes, I did recommend the Judge. But for me personally, sometimes the putters that I like to throw are not necessarily a great hand feel in terms of putting, and they can have some different flight characteristics to them. So having one that I'm gonna throw, which I know is gonna be hitting trees and bouncing off and ricocheting, once again, I'm trying to operate in the realm that we may be working with like $100 or less. So if you're on more of a budget, you can combine these 2 slots. But if you're looking to expand, I would highly encourage having a putting putter and a throwing putter. Because like I said, if you're playing disc golf, most often you're gonna be slamming into trees, signs, things like that with your discs. And so if it takes a chunk out of the thrower, at least when you're going to putt with it, it doesn't have this like nasty gash that you can't feel. Now the Envy was already very popular, but iconically in 2021, it was a part of the most iconic shot in all of disc golf called the Holy Shot. For a while after that, you could not find Envies anywhere, and it has become one of the most trusted throwing putters across so many people's bags. Amateurs everywhere lean on this, and even professionals love the Envy. I would argue that it is one of the top 3 best throwing putters in disc golf. Next up, we're leaning into one of the most iconic mid-ranges of all time, and that is the Buzz SS. I could be having one of those mandala effects. I'm pretty sure that the SS stands for super stable, but I also could see it meaning super straight. Probably should fact check that. For experienced disc golfers, the Buzz is going to be a straight flyer that has a little bit of fade to it. If you're looking to see how the Buzz flies, we're currently running a series at the time of dropping this video called Buzz Battles, where I'm comparing the Buzz to a bunch of other molds that people think fly like a Buzz. The Buzz SS was made as the counterpart to the Buzz, making an easier to throw version of the Buzz. So for newer players looking to get started, I think the Buzz SS is a fantastic option. This mid-range is going to give you more distance than you should be getting out of the Envy that we were talking about buying before, and still a really great option for lots of people. You're going to be able to pump this out pretty far without having to worry about the edge of the driver and things like that. Now, once again, I'm not going to recommend a fairway driver here because I would not suggest, if you're getting into the game right off the bat, that you grab a fairway driver. But if you absolutely feel the need to get one, then we already talked about the one that I would recommend, and that comes in the Trash Panda lineup, and that is the Ozone. It is an understable, friendly, very, very beginner friendly driver. You do not have to throw it hard, and it's like a cheat code distance disc. It is in my top 2 disc releases of 2024. That's if you want to get a fairway driver. The 4th disc that I would suggest adding, and I think it is disc golf's version of the bump and run, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is, of course, the overstable putt and approach disc. Now what I have in my hands here is the Zone created by Discraft Disc Golf. This is touted by many as being the gold standard of approach discs. Depending on which way you throw the disc is going to cause it to fly a certain way and lean into a certain flight path. When it's overstable, it wants to lean into that flight path even more. That makes it very reliable for finishing out the hole, because you know that when you throw it out wide, it's just going to crash back every single time. Throw it out wide with your forehand like so, it's going to crash back every single time. Now where I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach to this than I think several people are, is that I'm going to recommend, no matter which one you get, because you can get a multitude of options of approach discs, the Pig, the Zone, the Toro, the Tactic, the Harp. Just a few options out there, and I didn't even scratch the surface because the comments are going to let me know what overstable approach disc that they love that I didn't mention on the list. But the reason I went with those specifically is because they all come currently in premium and base plastics. The reason I would suggest you get one in base plastic is because base plastic is going to take a little less time to season in and sort of adjust its flight. As we throw these plastic circles all around, we mentioned them running into trees earlier in the video, that's going to adjust the flight. There is nothing quite like a perfectly seasoned base plastic overstable disc in your bag. For those of you who've been watching the channel for any amount of time, you know that I have a disc that I lovingly refer to as Precious Child, and it is a base plastic R Pro Pig that I have seasoned into absolute perfection, and I know what it does and I love it. And if I were starting over, I still would want to include a base plastic overstable and putt approach disc in my bag so that I could develop a loving relationship with it over time. And in order to avoid heartbreak, maybe I would have started with this guy. All right, so those are the discs that I would recommend. So let's talk accessories, or let's talk if I'm trying to put things in a bag. I think there are some cheap bag options out there. The thing is that we only suggested buying 3 or 4, maybe 5 discs. So if you buy a full-size bag, even if you go with something like the Dynamic Disc Trooper, which comes in, I think, at like $35 MSRP, you're gonna have room for your discs, but also you're gonna have so much extra room, it's gonna feel like, why am I carrying this super big bag? So we're gonna go with my friend Lincoln's approach. You're gonna head over to your local Walmart and you are gonna pick up a lunchbox. I think grabbing a $10 or $15 lunchbox that has a little durability to it that you'll know the size of the discs, grabbing one of those, you can sort of tote around, put your keys in it as well as your discs, can be a super solid option. If you're looking to expand, obviously I think the Trooper is gonna be a great option. There are tons of sort of smaller backpack type deals. Some people go with the drawstring bags. One thing that I think you wanna make sure you have on the course is that if you're going with a lunchbox, getting like a little satchel type deal is always going to be helpful, because that way you don't have to like just hold it the whole time. Having something that can hold water is also going to be really good, because ideally you're going to be hiking in beautiful weather like we have today. And so you're going to want to be drinking water while you're out there on the course. So make sure that it holds water, but most importantly, make sure it has some degree of thickness to it. This sounds so crazy that like, I know so many people will do those drawstring bags and then throw their discs in there. The problem I have with those drawstring bags is that you're like opening it up to like open the cinch all the way to reach in, grab your disc, and doing that. You're doing that over and over again. I don't know about you guys, but that like wears on my fingers after a little while, as opposed to something where I can just unzip it and then reach in and out type deal. Just feels easier. But second, you do have some discs in there, and if they get a nick or a cut or a gash in them, and then they can create a rip in that drawstring bag super fast. I think you would be appalled at how many people I have played with in a beginner round of disc golf where they've been using their drawstring bag, and I've watched them see it rip on the course because a disc like got caught in it and then ripped a hole in the side or things like that, or they like threw it on the ground and it fell onto some form of a stick or something sharp or whatever, and it cut a hole in it, and now their bag's useless throughout the rest of the round. So just make sure that it has some form of durability. So we include the discs, we include the bag. Water bottle, probably helpful, like an Nalgene or something like that. Reusable water bottle, highly encourage that. You know, in the mission of, we mentioned Jesse in the video, reusable water bottle, always going to be better for the world, for our planet. But of course, if you guys were starting over, I would love to know, what is your pick and choose method? What 3 discs are you going with? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're watching this and you're getting into the sport, I hope this was helpful. Try to keep it short, sweet, and thank you for joining our sport. We're excited to have you. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to drop them down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.